I was reading the news and I saw this Mark Robinson. If y'all don't know who that is, he's a lieutenant governor of North Carolina, and he's running for governor of North Carolina as a GOP candidate. And a bunch of news came out where basically there are these profiles that they found of him from a long time ago being on porn sites saying the craziest stuff you can imagine, right? And this is my thing. First of all, this is a terrifying and dangerous man, and I know that because he leaves comments on the message boards of porn sites. What? A porn site is simple, okay? You get in and you get out. You don't stay to chat. What's wrong with you? You're not here to make friends. You are out of your mind. Why are you just on here being with? That's weird as hell. No one I've ever met has been like, oh, well, I can't wait to log on and talk. That's a real sick man right there. That's crazy. And just so you know, Mark Robinson has been endorsed by Trump. Trump was stumped with him and stuff like that, and he's been at Trump rallies and stuff. And then, Mark Robinson's a very big man. He's huge. He's a large guy. And Trump called Mark Robinson Martin Luther King on steroids, because I don't think he understands how steroids work. They don't just make you bigger in general. They don't balloon you. You gotta work out a little bit. You gotta do something. Mark Robinson is over here being like, I think, I don't know what opinions he truly holds. I don't, because, politicians lie and they pretend to be who they think you want them to be. But it seems like he's trying to appeal to the most radical version of a conservative, right? And he has his little taglines, and he gets in with phrases. I think that's why Trump likens him to Martin Luther King, because he tries to put on an MLK-esque voice when he speaks and everything, but he says stuff that he sure his base wants to hear. And he said really horrific stuff about gay people, about trans people and everything. And they uncovered all of these things that he had said on the message boards of these porn sites because his username sometimes was his name. Fellas, I understand that sometimes we're in the heat of the moment and you go to one of these illicit sites, and the site asks you questions. Maybe the site, in order to enter, they want an email or something, or as eager as you are, please do not give them your actual information. This goes out to everybody. I don't care what you believe in, who you're voting for. Please do not give a porn site your real name and email address you use for work. I know it's the first email address that comes to mind when you've got other things on the mind, but make up an email address real quick. I know that sometimes that takes a second, because then you got to make a fake Google account. You got to go back. You got to accept the email from the porn site and then just look. But make it so they don't know it's you every time. It shouldn't be that hard, but apparently it is, because then CNN and the journalists on CNN, I don't remember if they're actually CNN affiliates, but basically the journalists that looked into it found that on lots of porn sites he was using the same username, the same handles, which turn out to be the same usernames and the same handles he used on Twitter and fellas, even if it means coming up with a fake name right now. Just come up with something to say in your mind. The fact that he was using his email all the time, but it makes sense. I guess he would use his email because he was using his name and he was commenting and all that. So he probably wanted to get the feedback from what people were saying to what he was saying. Now that I think about it, maybe it was more intentional than dumb. But he said insane things. This dude, first of all, on a porn site, no one is looking for feedback, really. Do you know what I mean? Maybe there's some. Maybe some crowd-funded, crowd-sourced. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm sure. Look, I haven't been on OnlyFans, but I'm sure with an OnlyFans, there are people that are like, I made this thing. I hope people like it. Let me get some feedback. This is what they like. This is what they don't like. That makes sense, right? But if you're just out in the world watching whatever comes up, and then you're just commenting all the time, you need a friend. This dude said such insane things. Some of them I can't repeat, but a couple of them I will. This dude said, unprovoked, I'm a black Nazi. I don't know where you begin with I'm a black Nazi from a black dude who should have probably left the porn site by now. He said other stuff. He was like, I would rather Hitler in office than the people that are in there now. I'm more confused than angry. I'm not gonna lie. You know, and then he said stuff about how, like, my man, slavery wasn't that bad. I wish they would bring back slavery. I'd buy a couple. Mind you, this is on a porn site. What wires do you have crossed in your head? Does being horny make you angry? What? In what world does that come up? You know, it's very specific. You know, in what world are you on a porn site? I think you're like, you know what really needs to be fixed? The Senate. Bruh. What? You know, I do my best. I really do. I do my best to try to understand people, and I don't get this one. This is beyond me. Because even outside of what he said on the sites, it's also some of the things that make him unfit for office are just what he says out in the open. The way that he talks about people who are definitely his constituents, you know? There are gay people in North Carolina. There are trans people in North Carolina. So when he speaks, he's speaking about them and sometimes to them. And he says very sick, hateful things, you know? And just the way that he has this weird, I'm trying to figure out how to say this. I try to love everybody, but it's very hard to love a black man that hates being a black man. It is jarring. You don't even know where to start. And the thing that I think maybe he thinks is that his proximity to whiteness and what the white people around him like will be his safety. And it's not going to be the case. Fundamentally, it won't. You know? Because when you say things like slavery wasn't that bad, I wish they would bring back slavery, I'd buy a couple. Who do you think? It's hard to get to the bottom of what this person is thinking, because it's so crazy, you know? it's like, it's one of those things where you look at the state of politics, and it's one thing to lie, and it's one thing to say what you think people want to hear, but it's another thing to be an absolute lunatic and already in office, because he's already lieutenant governor. So governor is not that far of a stretch. And he got to be lieutenant governor saying mostly what he says now, minus the porn stuff. And it's so bad that Donald Trump himself, the dude who would stump with them, this is Martin Luther King on steroids. He doesn't know what steroids are. This is Martin Luther King on steroids. Donald Trump's campaign is even telling him, hey, you may need to drop out. If Donald Trump's campaign Donald J. Trump's campaign is telling you to drop out, you should probably leave Earth. The idea that Donald Trump's campaign is like, this guy, ugh. The fact that Trump distanced himself from Mark Robinson, Trump doesn't distance himself from Nazis. The fact that he was like, oof, this is pretty weird, right? You know, like Trump didn't denounce the Proud Boys openly. They asked him about the Proud Men. He was like, you know, boys will be boys, I guess, or whatever. But you, no. And that's exactly what I mean. Your proximity to whiteness won't save you. You're actually saying and doing some of the same things that the people say and do that Trump didn't distance himself from. But he's getting as far away as he can from your black ass. He's getting so far away from you, you would think he was on steroids. I think a lot about how we think about each other and we treat each other, especially now with like an election on us, you know. Everybody's exhausted. Why do we even do it this way? You know, in like France, they're like 3 months out, they're like, who should we pick? Like we're the only ones that make it a season and a half of TV. Like no one else in the world does this. No one else in the world is like, all right, 2024, let's start talking about 2028. Why do we do it this way? And then you watch people, watch how they react to people, you know. Like I'm having a tougher time than I've ever had with the things that are being said, you know. Everybody expects politicians to lie. Everybody expects politicians to not care about them. I get that, but what's happening right now is like truly insane. You know, J.D. Vance was at a rally, and it's weird. Okay, I've just never seen somebody with less charisma. Like, J.D. Vance makes Ron DeSantis look like Ron White. Like, it's... Because when Ron DeSantis was running, I was like, why he smiling like that? He was just, do you remember his smile? He's running, he's like, it's like it hurt him to talk to people, person to person. Then J.D. Vance got in there and nobody was happy. And J.D. Vance said, you know, they asked him about how he felt about the whole rumor about the dogs and cats things affecting the Haitian community, why they've been zeroing in on Haitians specifically in Springfield for some reason. You know, he's from Ohio and everything like that. And he basically said, like, and you can look this up for yourself if you think I'm being unfair, but he basically said that, you know, this is a Democrat talking point and a point by the media and everything, as if he didn't say it. And then he Then he basically says, everyone loves talking about those Haitians in the community like they came here legally and are doing everything legally, but they were brought in and they were legalized through a process by Kamala Harris that is unconstitutional. So as long as they're here, I'm going to call them illegal aliens. He's talking about the people who did the right thing, by the way. You'll still be illegal. You'll never not be illegal, in my view. That's wild. You can't do that. You just can't, because the law is supposed to be the law. You're supposed to be the party of law and order. You can't just be like, nuh-uh, that's not. It's not how the law is supposed to work, And look, I think that one of the reasons we get pitted against each other really, really hard is because America makes a promise, and it makes a promise to everybody that they will have it better tomorrow. And a better tomorrow isn't coming for everybody because of systems in place to keep tomorrow like today. So when I see Donald Trump at a rally, and he says they're coming from Africa, they're coming from the Middle East, some of them are coming from Asia. These people are coming to our country, they're poisoning the blood of our country, and we have to get them out. I don't just think about people of color. I do think for a second about white people from the past, right? Because white wasn't always this singular identity. There was a time in America where if you were Irish, you were spit on. Where if you were Italian, you were beat. And everything that Trump says about them is what they said about all those people in the background, right? About their great-grandparents. So they may cheer it on, but recognize if you have Italian descent, if you have Irish descent, if you're Greek, there was a time where you were not welcome here. And they said that your very presence and the presence of your children would destroy the country, would poison the blood. And then we became the most powerful country in the world. So clearly it's a lie. It's so clearly a lie. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying this as if I'm like, don't even have a program, open borders, just let everybody come in, spill it. The thing that they are painting, sometimes it's not even what's happening in the area. And look, I'm going to tell you right now that I think that there should be a fair and legal and simple process for becoming a citizen. Do you know what I mean? And I think that having a process is not un-American. Having a process is not cruel, right? But there has to be a process. But then when that process is adhered to, you can't just be like, no, that's unmanageable. That's wild to me. I have friends who, one of my good friends is Italian, first generation Italian, and he's a bit older, and he tells me stories of what it was like for his family, right? And so much of it was based around fear. These Italians are coming over here and they're gonna ruin everything with their good food. And they were called criminals. There was an assumption that everybody, no matter who you were, in the Italian community was in the mob and you were dangerous and people should stay away from you, It's everything. It's every single thing that's happening now. I'm not saying that there's no possibility of having an immigration problem. I'm not saying that it's not something that needs to be addressed. I'm saying the rhetoric that you use when you talk about people is important. No matter what you do when you build policy, Because I would like the people who are hardworking, the people who are honest, the people who genuinely love America to be in America, Because Because the same things that they do to immigrants now is what they did back in the day, you know? Maybe you were Irish, and maybe an Irish person in your community committed a crime, and now it's a crime on all of you. Not just one of you did it, y'all all did it. Every single one of you, and we're gonna make you feel like you did it. We're gonna put up signs, right? And if you're Irish, you know what those signs said. You know what I mean? So where did that get us? And where are we now? You know? Because we didn't send those Irish people back. We didn't send those Italian people back. You know, we found a way to make things work, and you build on a process and you improve it. I'm not saying there's not a process that doesn't need to be improved. I really am not. I'm saying that the way that you talk about people is important. Outside of anything else, whether they share some land with you or not. You know, and the same things that are happening now are what happened back then, you know? I'm scared of having a political process that's it's untenable. I'm just not as strong as I'd like to be. You know what I mean? Like, there have definitely been things that needed to be picked up. But how about this? Very few people in my life have ever asked me to help them move. That's how you know you come off a little anemic to your friends. You know what I mean? Because I actually have anemia. But like, my thing is, if you're in the throes of like being your absolute strong, maybe I've watched too many movies, but I've just want to have like one period in my life where like I walk past stuff and I think about picking it up without the injury that might occur. You know what I mean? There have been people, okay, as an example, I try to be helpful, right? And I was in New York, and I was on a subway, and I was getting up the stairs. I had already got off the train, right? And on the second, there were 3 rows of stairs, right? And on the second row of stairs was a young mom who had a stroller with a baby in it, right? So then I'm like, okay, she already got up the first one. I'm not just gonna assume that she needs help, but the fact that she's doing it by herself and the stroller is hitting every step, she's shaking the baby. Like, that's undeniable. Just bow, 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 right? And so then I'm walking up and she looks like she's really contemplating how to do the second and third set of stairs, because I think she must also felt like that was a lot of shaking, right? And so then I walk up and I'm like, hey, would you like a little help up? And then she was like, oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And then I actually go down a couple stairs, you know, so I can like protect my back, lift with my legs and everything, and keep the baby at the right trajectory, because now the baby's still gonna be at an angle. He's not gonna be like this, and then... So then I grab the bottom of the stroller and I go to pick it up, and I put in the effort, but the baby doesn't move. And I cannot tell if the stroller is made of titanium or if this baby is secretly 12. Like, because this is what's so embarrassing about what's happening right now, is that I have 2 people, one of which doesn't have object permanence yet, but 2 people who know exactly what's going on. They know that I've now offered to help and I cannot help. Because as I'm really, like, did you ever see The Sword and the Stone? It was... Because my hams and my quads are wiggling. And so I've got the wiggle going. So I know I'm putting in the effort, right? And I even readjusted and put my foot on a different step because I was like, that's a bad step. I don't like that step. That's what it is. That step was too low. It wasn't doing my legs any justice. Let me get up another step. So then I put, but this is a worse position to be in, right? So now I'm lower, and now I'm wiggling. But the thing, okay, so I'm wiggling so hard, and then I look up a little bit, and the baby is like. And I never thought that being judged by a baby would help me access more glute use than I ever thought possible, because then I look up and the mom is also like, and so then I look past them because they are not helping me right now, and I finally lift it up a little bit, and I get maybe knee height, right? Which this is not comfortable to go upstairs with weight, okay? But I start pushing, and I get up one step, and get up another step. And I cannot believe that this mom did this by herself, because I'm like, this is with help. And so sure enough, climbing up, and maybe a quarter of the way on the second set of steps, I start to feel a pain. I shouldn't say a pain. I started to feel 3 pains. One was in my back, one was in my quad, and one was in my hamstring. And other people are passing us, because I wasn't the only one that got off the subway. And as we're passing by, this other guy was passing by, much bigger dude, but he was like, "Do y'all need help?" Which is devastating. You ever been a good Samaritan and needed a good Samaritan? It was terrible. So then I'm turning to him to be like, I'm about to answer, and the mom is like, "Yes." And so then this dude with one hand moves my hand and starts to take up some of the slack, right? And in my head, I'm like, all right, it's gonna be the 3 of us together. And okay, all right. So this dude moves this hand with this hand, moves it out of the way, and so now I'm just pinching both my hands on this other part, but he really is keeping it level in a way that's devastating. And then he was like, it brightens my day to help out a young, beautiful couple like y'all. Which means that as he was walking up the steps and got level with me, he was sure I couldn't carry my own son. And so I'm holding this one, and he's holding this one with one hand, right? Other hand in his pocket. He chilling. And then almost immediately, this young mom says, "Oh, we're not together." And in my head, I'm like, you couldn't fake. You couldn't save me the embarrassment for 17 more steps. We don't know this man. I don't know you. We're not together. And so then he goes, "Ooh, oh, okay. Well, we all try to make things work the best way possible." Now he thinks I am an absent father. that isn't able to carry my own son. And so then she's like, no, I don't know him. I was like, you really had to throw me under the bus right now. You couldn't just pretend to know me for 15 more steps. And then he goes, oh. And now he knows that I'm a stranger that can't pick up his not son. And I try to help people and everything, but this is too embarrassing. So after about the fourth step, I was like, hey, I'm late. Do you think you could? And then he was like, oh yeah. And then he, both hands, and I walked up the stairs by myself and then ran. When I got to the top, I did not want to be seen again. That was terrible. How are you gonna, we not together? No, I don't know him. How are you? I was trying to be helpful. But I was hurt, like my pride was hurt. And so then I went home and got online and Googled the weight of that stroller, because I was like, this thing has got to be like at least 100 pounds or something. Try and make myself feel better. Turns out it was all baby. That stroller is 8 pounds. I'm surprised it was holding the kid up. I was watching the news, because at first I saw it on the news and then it spilled over to social, so I was watching a lot of it. I saw where Tyreek Hill got stopped by the police, right? And I don't think he got arrested. I mean, he got detained for a bit, but he still made it to the game and did quite well. But the whole thing was pretty wild, and I made sure to watch like everything that got released, like the full body cam footage and everything, because I saw just so many people arguing about it online, right? And in case you didn't see it, basically Tyreek Hill, who's a football player, right? He is he's driving and gets pulled over, right? And anytime I'm on Twitter and I see like a video of a black dude getting pulled over, I'm like, well, it was a good day. I don't know what I'm about to see. And so, you know, you see the body cam footage of the cop walking up after they pulled him over to Tyreek's window. And Tyreek is sitting there in the car and everything, and then the cop knocks on the window, and then Tyreek lowers his window, looks at the cop and goes, "Don't knock on my window like that," and then rolls the window back up. And as an African American audience member, I was like, uh-oh. And you can tell, even the cop, you can't see his face because it's his body cam, but you can tell he's like, what? What just happened? So then he knocks on the window again, and he's like, yo, keep the window down. And he's like, don't knock on my window like that, right? Don't knock on my window like that. And they just go back and forth. He's like, keep the window down, don't knock on my window like that. Keep the window down, don't knock on my window like that. Now, to be fair, by now the window is just down. Like, he's just... It's kind of like one of those things where you arguing with somebody, but they are doing the thing you asked them to do, but you still mad, so then you're like, and keep doing it. You just don't know what to say next. You're like, and stay doing it. And so then, you know, he hands him his his license and registration, and then he rolls the window back up. And like, look. Look. Rolling the window up on anybody. I've never seen a respectful rolling of the window up, right? Like when I've been out and I've been in situations and I roll the window up, it's very clear what I mean, right? I remember one time I was with my friend Mike in Chicago, and he was giving me a ride home from a show, and there was this one dude that was in the street, middle of the street, and we had a pretty clear, we were in Chicago, and so we're going down like that Argyle area and everything, and we have a pretty clear street because it's so late at night, right? And it's it's like maybe 2:30 in the morning because I had a late show and I stayed to talk with people and stuff like that. And Mike is giving me this ride back, and we've got the windows down and everything. But then we're at a red light, and we see a red light away. This guy who's been in the street, and we could tell from the distance, is just running in the street, no shirt on, everything. And then Mike just goes, "Let me roll up my window because this nigga is making me nervous." Rolling up the window is not both like a power move. Sometimes it's also a move of like, I really don't want to look at you right now. And so the cop knocks on the window again. He's like, "Hey, keep the window down." And then Tyreek is like, "Yo, just give me my ticket so I can go," right? And as an African American audience member, I was like, oh. And so then cop tells him one more time, he's like, "Yo, keep the window down before I take you out of the car. Matter of fact, get out of the car," right? So he just immediately decides like, "No, open this door. Open the door before I break the window. Open the door," right? And so then Tyreek is like, "Okay, damn, all right." So he unlocks the door, and then they pull the door open, and they start pulling Tyreek out. He's like, "Okay, I'm getting down, damn, right?" And now they're pushing him down and everything. And he's like, hey, careful. I just had surgery on my knee. And they're telling him. And then the guy, the same cop as before, is like, "Oh, that's convenient. You didn't have surgery on your knee in the car when you couldn't keep the window up." And I was like, that's not how knees work. And so they got Tyreek down flat on the ground. I can't remember if they handcuffed him or they zip tied him or they just had him with his hands right here. And you gotta keep in mind that this is all for like some speeding. Like if you're speeding and they catch you, they just arrest you because you're speeding that much, Like if you're going the speed of the temperature in Arizona, you're just going to jail. But all of this happens, speeding a little bit, right? And then, it's on the ground, hands down, everything. He's trying to call someone to let them know that he's gonna be late, which is courteous. And then, I don't know when in the sequence this happened, because then this is from a different angle, but I watched something that was fully put together, right? So I don't know if this one was on police body cam, but this was just like a part of the footage. And then, Tyreek said something along the lines of like, "Yeah, another black man trying to drive in America," right? And then the same cop as before says like, "Oh, I'm Cuban, don't play that shit with me," right? Which isn't quite, like, I see where he was trying to get, but no, the 2 points kind of miss each other, right? And then You know, there was another player who had stopped his car and got out just to see what was happening because he saw Tyreek's car, Tyreek on the ground and everything. And so then he's trying to call somebody, and Tyreek is telling him, like, yo, call whoever. I don't know if it's like the GM or I don't know who he wants him to call, but he keeps saying the same name. So then that guy goes, okay. But then the cop sees that guy and goes, yo, you can't stop there. Get back in your car. You can't stop there. Get back in your car right now. He's like, okay, I'm getting back in my car. I was just trying to see what's happening. Don't worry about what's happening. Get back in your car right now. Drive off, right? And he's like, okay, and even as he's moving towards his car, the cop was like, you know what? You too. And then takes him. And it did get to the point where I was like, are they going to arrest the city? Because I'm not going to lie. When you drive by, you get curious. You're like, you know, maybe you're in your car and you drive by a little slow. You're like, is that Tyreek Hill? And the cop's like, you can get some too. Like, you know? But it just got me to thinking, like, wow, all of this. And our expectation, the fact that we expected it to be worse than it was, you know? Because I want to be clear about something. Tyreek Hill was, if you watch the tape, he was being an asshole because he thought he could get away with it, right? He thought he had enough money. He thought he had enough, like, access or proximity to maybe how his white friends move, you know? That he thought he could be an asshole and get away with it. And I want to be clear, the cops in that situation were also being assholes because they thought they could get away with it. But only one of those two parties was at work. Do you know what I mean? Everybody has a bad day. Everybody can't be perfect, and some people are assholes through and through, right? But being an asshole isn't illegal. One of those parties has a gun, has the ability to kill, has the power to move people where they want them to go, you know? And it's a terrifying thing because my thing is like, take race out of it for a second, right? The way that the police are allowed to move is what creates the expectation. It just happens to get to a certain place with black people more often than not. But it's the way that we're all policing, the thing that we all allow as long as it's happening to somebody else, that keeps the system intact. You know? And so I've watched the police do all manner of things in different videos to different people, right? But there's a certain place we let it get to in our minds where we just accept that, like, oh man, you disrespected a cop, you about to get your ass beat. Why is that? Do you know what I mean? Why is that? Because I'm not trying to make it as if race isn't an actual issue in it. It's like inextricably linked to it. But at the same time, trust me when I say anybody can get it. I've watched so many videos of people, kids, you know, and it's because of the way that we let police move, and also what we ask police to do, right? There should just be a scanner. If you're speeding, we'll catch you. And I don't have to talk to the dude with the gun. That would be nice. That would be so much better to just, I was speeding, you got me, that's my bad, I was speeding, and now I don't get tapped on the window by a dude that I know is armed that's not having a great day. You know? Because I've even watched, like you wouldn't believe, you know, I've watched my white friends move around the police in a way that I could never imagine, right? But I've also watched them. There's a weird leveling off that happens when it comes to policing, where sometimes white people get loud or get violent with the police, and the police go, I'm white too, so like, let's nix that now. You gotta get your ass beat today. You know? And I've also seen black police tuning up black kids, right? But it's also the expectation that we have of police and the way that we allow them to move that like leads to situations like this. You know what I mean? It's terrifying to be pulled over by the police just in in my view, as a black person, not even because I'm like, man, this cop's definitely gonna be racist. It's more just what can happen and what they can get away with that's terrifying. And I know that we're not all feeling the same way, but in my opinion, we should all be terrified. Because everything's well and good until it happens to you. And trust me when I tell you it can happen to you. In college, I had a friend who was getting a little drunk, right? He was pretty drunk. And, you know, he got loud with a cop. And I was trying to, you know, dissuade him. But I was doing it from a distance, like a coach. You know what I mean? Like I was... You know, I was like, hey, I know you white, but you're gonna get tased. I'm telling you. The way you moving right now is taser behavior, okay? That white skin can only protect you for so long. You about to get that ass beat, I'm telling you. I've seen too many videos of people doing what you do, and they never end well. And they didn't tase them, but let's just say I did eventually have to yell out, I'll see you back at the door. I don't want these problems. Mira.